Welcome to day 2 of factoring. So these are the 3.5, 4.25 problems on your quiz and on your homework. So I want to take a time to go over, first off, your warm-up. So let's talk about that. If you can do the warm-up, I think solving by factoring is pretty much, once you get the warm-up part done, the factoring part, the rest is pretty easy when you have to solve. But I think if we have some difficulty with the factoring. So I'm going to start out with number 1. Number 1 is factoring when you have your AX and your BX term. You don't have a constant. Okay, how do we factor those? So remember, x squared is the same as x times x, and then you have 5 times x. So you want to find that common factor. And if you have these first two terms, they're always going to have that variable, this x in common. So if I want to factor this, it's going to be x, because I take an x out of both, and here I have an x left, here I have a 5 left. And that's how you factor that. Second warm-up problem is factoring perfect squares. So this is x squared minus 3 squared. So it's x plus 3, x minus 3. Now, if you're not sure, you don't remember that pattern of perfect squared minus perfect squared, just remember this is the same as x squared plus 0x minus 9. And you want to figure out, well, what multiplies to be negative 9 and adds to be 0? And that would be 3 and negative 3. So that's another approach you can use if you're forgetting this pattern of a perfect squared minus perfect squared. And then the final problem warm up is just a basic one. What multiplies to be 12 and adds to be 7? So since there's a positive 7, we know these always match. Positive 7, positive. Since they multiply to be positive, they must be the same. So when you figure out your list, okay, which of these add to be 7? And that would be 3 and 4. So this would be x plus 3, x plus 4. So that's a review of factoring. We're now going to use this factoring as you look to see, all right, how do we solve by factoring? Yesterday we talked about the fact that the only way to multiply to get to be 0 is if one of the terms is 0. Another thing we talked about, anytime you multiply two things, if one is 0, they multiply to be 0. So the only way you can solve by using this factoring method is you must get them equal to 0. So if you don't have it already, below on your sheet here, it has the notes, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then here's examples you're going to follow along with in this packet. We're going to do 3 examples. After we get done with these 3 examples, you can get started on your homework. Or if you want, you can move on to the 5.0 video. So example 1. X squared minus 2x equals 12. Now you have the steps already on your sheet on the left, so I'm not going to rewrite them. But step 1 is you want to get this equal to 0. And underneath this, it gives you a little hint. Anytime you want to get this equal to 0, you're always going to be subtracting the opposite or adding the opposite of whatever this is, because you want to move it over. You can't just move it, but by adding the opposite, it eliminates this side, and then they'll put it on this side. So if I look at this problem, to get this over, I'll add the opposite. So I add negative 12 to both sides. So this now becomes x squared minus 2x minus 12 equals 0. Do not combine these terms. They're not like terms. This is x squared, this is x, this is a constant. Step 1 is done. Okay. Step 2. Factor this. So if I'm factoring, I need to figure out what multiplies to be negative 12, adds to be negative 2. Well, since, remember, if this is negative, the right side is negative, and then they're opposites because they have to multiply to be a negative. So a positive times a negative gives you negative 12. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and 8, these are all going to be negative. Okay. All right. So this is supposed to actually be you can change this on your paper. It's supposed to be a 4. Okay. Sorry about the confusion. All right, so this will now give you that negative 4. Okay, once you do that, you can now factor it. Now, once you have this factored, you go on to the next step, which is step 3, set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So here I subtract 2 from both sides to get x by itself. That's my one solution. Here I add 6 to both sides, and that would be my other solution. Here's what this means. What this means, if I put 2 or 6 into this equation, it will make it equal. That's how we solve it. Okay. All right, go on to example 2. Before I go over example 2, what I want you to do is do step 1 on your own. Set it equal to 0. All right, so go ahead and do that now. I'll get ready for that problem. All right, so if you did this, you got it equal to 0. Once again, you're going to add opposite. So I got x squared minus 25 equals 0. So step 1 is done. Have it set equal to 0. Next, I need to factor this. This is a situation where you got a perfect squared minus a perfect squared, because this is x squared minus 5 squared. Okay, so if you remember the pattern, it's x plus b, a minus b. So in this case, if I look at this, would be x plus 5, x minus 5. So now that's step 2. I've got this factor. Finally, I set each factor equals 0 and solve. Okay. So that's our example 2. Let's finish this off with example 3. Go ahead and get this set equal to 0. And then after you get it set equal to 0, you might as well continue on and see if you can factor it and you can solve. Okay, so you can pause the video while you do that. Right, so setting it equal to 0, you need to add the opposite both sides. That's a negative 12x. These are not like terms, so don't combine them. So that's step 1. Now this is our special situation. If you haven't done so already, pause the video and see if you can figure out how this is factored. If you're struggling with how to factor it, remember what's common factors of both of these that you can pull out. So go ahead and do that. So 3x squared is 3 times x times x. 12 would be 3 times 2 times 2 times x. Okay, that's just the factorization. So I figure out what do they have in common. They both have 3's in common. Pull that out. They both have this x in common. Pull that out. Right, what do I have left over? I have this x here. Here I've got 2 times 2, which is 4. So you're like, why is it negative 4? Because this is a negative sign. I keep that sign. Right. So I just factored it. Now I go to step 3. I set each factor equal to 0 and stop. Divide both sides by 3 and add 4. All right, so those were just 3 examples of yesterday's lesson. Hopefully they helped you as we continue on. You now need to go on, and there's actually one more example. You can look at it if you want, but if you go to the next page, you have 6 homework problems. Please complete them, get them signed off by the teacher, and then hopefully you'll be done by the end of the first hour.